Wow. Today is a very, very special day. Get to listen to a little Jimi Hendrix. And you sip a cup of coffee. Think about the future. And as your mind wanders, think to yourself, now, how long have I been listening to the Unified CXM experience? Because, it's so awesome. It doesn't seem like that long, but has it been longer? How many episodes have they done? Today's our 1 year anniversary. Cue 1 year anniversary music. Okay, that's enough of that. Also, 166 episodes. Not bad, right? Is it 166 with this one, Randy, or is it 167 with this one?
This is 167.
So this is 167. So 166 in the past, 167 today. 1967 was a great year. That was the year of the Montreal Expo, Canadian Centennial. 1967 was a great year. So 167 episodes in a year. By the way, Randy, I think it's time to change our entry music. I feel like I've enjoyed Jimmy for a year and let's now try to something else, something maybe more circus-like, perhaps.
Okay.
The circus of Martech. I don't know, something, Mannheim Steamroller. I don't know, something different. No.
Okay, let me think about it.
Yeah, I'm sure you come up with some good ideas. So let me talk a little bit about the last year. I want to spend just a moment or two talking about how it all started and just what our thinking was at the time. I'm going to talk a little bit about which have been the top shows from Apple Podcasts, just the top downloaded shows. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about the theme of this anniversary in the context of Unified CXM, as always, of course. I mean, I don't want to sound pedantic, but it's important. You can't stop talking about it. So, and I'll just, as a cue to that section, the first anniversary traditionally was celebrated with gifts made out of paper. And in the modern version, so there's a traditional and a modern version of how you celebrate these anniversaries, typically wedding. And in the modern version, it's a clock. And I actually saw something really cool the other day for a first year anniversary. It was an origami paper clock. I thought that was like an amazing way to blend the two. So we're going to talk a little bit about clocks and time. Let me go back a year. So if you were to have told me a year ago that you need to crank out 166 podcasts and keep going, all on the topic of Unified CXM, I would have thought you were crazy. I could not have seen I don't know how I would have even wrapped my mind around that. It just seemed like almost an impossible task. Yet here we are. And what's almost bizarre is not only did it feel pretty easy to get 166 done. No, sorry, Randy. I know it wasn't easy, but it did seem to kind of come off the mind pretty easily. There's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes, but it was easy for me. And I don't just have 166 more in me. I've got 1,066 more in me. I've got 10,066 more in me. I could talk about this forever. It's actually kind of amazing. And the more you dig into it, the more you uncover. And now I have people sending me things. I've got, people sending me screenshots of these like crazy customer experiences they have, which I'll be profiling some in the near future. And it is really amazing the nerve we've touched as we talk about Unified CXM, because we talk about it from the standpoint of what is your experience like today as a customer and what should it be like? And there's a big gap there, a bigger gap than most companies realize. So I would say that what's been very interesting about this last year is that as we've dug into it, we've learned so much, and we have learned enough, I think, at this point to realize how little we know. And that's always the sign of real learning, that at some point you learn enough about something to realize you know nothing about it. And I feel like that's where I kind of am right now. So I'm at that point of the beginner's mindset of having talked about this enough, interviewed enough people, done enough modeling and descriptions of it, and talked about enough case studies that I now realize I know basically nothing at all, which is humbling. But I guess that's the penalty of repetition. So that is sort of my mindset. And I just wanted to thank everyone. There's been tens and tens of thousands of people who've downloaded and listened to the show, and just an incredible number of people who've reached out and talked to us and given us advice and feedback, which we've loved, and almost all of it we've incorporated. I've left out some of the Howard Stern suggestions, but otherwise we've kept it. We've taken almost everything. And it's been, I think what's interesting is this has all been organic. We're not spending any money to promote the show. It's just people passing it on to others and talking about it and sending it to other people and discovering it, which is even cooler. So we'll see what this next year has to bring. It is funny, at this time last year, when we just started it, you do the first show and then you have to wait a couple of weeks for Apple to listen to it, be okay with it, and then put it up, and then you can start to produce from there on. And then we're on about 30 different podcasting platforms, but obviously if we couldn't get on Apple, that would have been a big problem because that's the primary one. And then you start to build an audience. So I remember by Christmas last year, so Christmas 2020, I was early mid-December. I got really excited because we had just crossed the 1,000 download threshold. And, we're way past that now. And it's amazing to see how far we've come. So who knows where we'll be this time next year. So top 10 shows. So, I was trying to get a theme of these shows. What is interesting is that of the top 10 shows, 7 of them are with guests. So I think the feedback I'm getting there, is that people, they really like the podcast when I'm not doing any of the speaking, or as little of it as possible. So in those top 10 shows with guests, we have 2 shows that we did with Tom Peters. I'm not surprised. I mean, he promoted it on his feed. It was a great show. One was called Extreme Humanism and the Customer Experience. The other one was How Small Changes Can Drive Big Impact. And Tom was an amazing guest. We loved having him. So that was super fun. We also had our Neha, the breath guru. We did a bunch of shows with her. 2 of her shows are in the top 10. One was Monday Morning Inspiration, and the other one was Managing Through a Crisis. And Neha and I got really deep on some stuff. I mean, wow, I listened to one the other day and I was like, geez, did I do that publicly? It's like, oh, wow. But they were great shows. And Neha is now producing her own podcast and was kind of using us to sort of trial out her technique and how she wanted to do that approach. And it's going fantastic for her. So that's been great. We also had Michael Cross and Amanda Sternquist from HGS, great partner of ours. It was actually our number 1 show, The Art of the Possible. Talked a lot about unified CXM, integration, and how we work with our partners, which was awesome. And then Ryan Benici, old friend of mine, CMO extraordinaire, been at a bunch of different companies about how to align yourself for impact. Ryan did a nice job of talking about how he manages his career and has impact in his career, which is pretty cool. And then I guess the shows that I hosted that were popular, one was The Tale of 2 CXM Experiences. That was a good one. That was from May of this year. And then How to Revolutionize Your Marketing Strategy with Mass One-on-One. And our initial show has a fair number of downloads as well, because when people start, they'll often listen to the initial or inaugural show. But that was that's our top 10 rundown, which is pretty cool. So lesson for me is less grad, more guests. Got it. Check. So let's talk about time. So let's assume that we're going to get a clock as a gift. And by the way, if you are sending gifts to the show for our 1-year anniversary, send them to Sprinkler. It's at 29 West 35th Street, New York, New York. Zip is 10001. And just put them to the attention of grad con, and all gifts, cash, jewelry, all accepted, all welcome. Just feel free to send them over. So, I can't wait to see what happens there. And so let's talk a little bit about our gifts. So say it's a clock, and I want to talk a little bit about time. So just a few shows ago, I talked about this definition of customer experience management and the foundational principles of CXM. So I'm going to just recap that super fast, and I want to drill deep on one of them. So customer experience management, CXM, is composed of three words: customer, experience, and management. And if you're thinking about the customer, the question you need to ask yourself is, do you approach your business from the perspective of the customer? When you're thinking about experience, you need to ask yourself, do you respect the time of your customers? I'm going to come back to this one. And when you think about management, is do you rapidly respond to your customers? This is the one that management is the one that blows my mind. Most people don't respond to their customers. I don't understand why. It doesn't make any sense to me, but that's what's going on out there, and that's the problem. But let's talk about experience and talk about the time. So if we're thinking about our first anniversary gift and the clock, think of our clock of customer experience management and the experience part. Is your product easy to find? Is it easy to buy? Is it easy to return? Is it easy to repair? Is it easy to recycle? Is it easy? Because you think about any time that you complain about a customer experience or have had a customer experience that makes you sad, often you speak from the standpoint of, they wasted my time. And time's very precious. The thing about time that I really like is that time is a good that we're all given equal amounts of. Nobody on the planet, technically speaking, has more time in a day than anyone else. Now, some of us have more days because some of us will live longer than others. Pretty hard to predict. But no one has a longer day. And so why? And when you think about this, like the richest person on the planet has the exact amount of time in a day as the poorest person on the planet. Now, what happens is that people who are wealthier can get others to do things for them. So they make more efficient use of their time, perhaps, than some of the poorest who are forced to hard scrabble for themselves. So that's where there's some inequity there. But nonetheless, they still have the same amount of time. The rich person can't buy more time per se. It's inexorable. And so if you think about time from that standpoint as this incredibly precious commodity that we're all given the same amount of, and it's going down and declining every single day. You can't do anything about it. You can't stop it. You can't wind it back. You can't delay it. You can't slow it down. Nothing. It just keeps going. Wouldn't the highest calling for customer experience be to value that resource of the customer, to treat it with respect, with, in fact, more respect than the money that the customer gives us? Because isn't their time more precious than their money? They can make more money. They can find more money. Money's pretty fungible. But they can't get more time. So when you waste a customer's time, you're actually taking advantage of them at a higher order than if you were to take their money. Think about that for a second. Where in your operation today are you making people feel like you're giving them time back? This is why there's been such a move to all the new modern channels. People want to asynchronously connect with companies because they want to be able to use their time more effectively. I want to be able to manage this customer service issue, where's my package, while also doing something else, be in a class or, work at my job or, watch something or whatever. And it's just a desire to do two things at once, essentially fast switching between them, is a desire to take better advantage of the time that we have available. And so that is, if you take that as a sacred covenant, that it's your job as a company or as an organization to value the time of the people that work with you more highly than the money that they give you, does that change the way you operate? Does that change the way you think? Does that change the way you think about your own people? The covenant you have with them on their own time? That's kind of a neat way of thinking about things, appropriate to our first anniversary. And I am going to sign off for today. We've got a whole brand new year ahead of us. We'll have some new sounds, some new guests, some new people, some integrations with Sprinkler TV, which will be super fun to do, and a whole bunch of other new ideas coming up. But for now, I'm going to sign off. And for the unified CXM experience, I'm Brad Kahn, CXO, Chief Experience Officer at Sprinkler. And I'll see you next time.